stated, there is actually I can't speak today, words are hard. There's actually quite a long and interesting story behind the Roller Coaster Tycoon games that I can briefly go over. It's a bit sad as well, because it's kind of been torn apart by the company that owns it now, Atari. So, also, multiple shops are still missing a vendor. Deal with this quickly. Vendors. I only have 4. 4 vendors. I'm still in the red. I just need to pay this loan off and then I'll be making money again. Okay. The story of RCT. I kind of know this like the back of my hand. So, the original Roller Coaster Tycoon came out in 1999. The year I was born. And it was 2D. Computer game at the time, and it was super critically acclaimed. Really fun game. I don't have that many hours in it here because it's on my phone. It was made by a guy named Chris Sawyer and his small team, I guess. And it did really well. So they're like, okay, let's make another one. So they made Rct Two, which is basically like the same thing. You can kind of see the art style is the exact same. Looking back and forth between the two of these, it's like the same kind of game engine, stuff like that. They just added some more stuff and a lot more parks, stuff like that. And whoa, leg. And then after that, that's when Atari, the company that used to be a big deal when games were still brand new, like in the 80s, stuff like that. Well, home games were still new. They took over, and they got a company named Frontier to actually make it for them. So they owned the name, but they didn't make it themselves. They got a company named Frontier to make this game right here. It was the first actual 3D Roller Coaster Tycoon, and it's not fun in the same way that the first 2 games are, in my opinion. Like, it's very different, but it's still really fun. It's still a really good game. Frontier actually did a really good job on it. I never know whether it's Frontier or Frontiers. I know recently it's Frontier, but back then it might have been Frontiers, I'm not sure. Anyway, Frontier, they did a really good job with it. And in 2006 or something, they released the expansion packs? Something like that. I'm not sure. Something along there. I just remember I was a kid and I saw it in stores. I'm like, oh, another one! Yay! And I picked it up. And that's what's on my shelf in the background, the Platinum Edition that's here. That the disc is too old, and it literally breaks my computer. It's so old, which is why I had to download it again. And then, it's just nothing happens for so long. Like, whoa, I don't know what I'm doing. And then there's just like a big gap where there's like nothing, and people are like, what happened to Roller Coaster Tycoon? We haven't heard of it for so long. And then it was like in 2013, 14, something like that, Atari makes a big announcement. That's crazy. Yeah, but then it gets so much crazier. It gets really crazy. Atari, all of a sudden, in, I don't know, something like that, 2013, 2014, first they make an app. It's called Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 Mobile. So people are like, oh, Roller Coaster Tycoon 4, and it's for mobile devices. The thing about Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 Mobile is it's like a freemium app. So it's like one of those apps where you have to pay to make like any progress at all, and there's wait walls where it's like build something, wait like 2 days for it to be built, something like that, or pay and get it done with now. Do I have mechanics? Fix this. Do I? I do. Neat. And so you had to pay to make like any progress at all. There was only one park at all. So you had to like pay to make progress in your one park. And it cost $5 just to download the game in the first place. Like, what a ripoff. Like, they changed that later. They did make it free later. I had one of those, literally so stupid I remember downloading for a quick second. Like one of those free apps. Oh, like a freemium app, you mean? Yeah, one of... freemium apps. What a pain freemium apps are. I feel bad for people that get like really invested in them and feel really compelled to spend money in them. How far is this loan going? I need this to get done. Okay, it's getting there. It's getting there. But yeah, they made a freemium app. Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 Mobile. Terrible game. Absolutely awful. And then, it was like in 2014, something like that. I'm not quite sure. I don't exactly remember. They announced a big project. Atari's like, we're working on a really big project right here. Maybe my playtime is an indication of how well that game went, but they're like, we're doing a really big project. We're doing another computer Roller Coaster Tycoon game. To be honest, you know those story games that always get advertised? I fell for them, paid about $20 because I wanted to have certain choices in the game. Guilty. Yeah, that's no bueno. That is no bueno, but ah well. Ah well. You do you. I haven't played like any story like games before. Like I've downloaded ones before. I remember I downloaded Final Fantasy VII onto my phone once because I never played it. I wanted to know what it was like since it was so acclaimed. I didn't like it. I quit a couple hours in. But like if you're referring to like a freemium app where you need to like pay to progress, keep going with the story. Okie doke. The story continues. So they announced Roller Coaster Tycoon World. They're like, we're doing a big project. It's gonna be massive. We are doing the next computer Roller Coaster Tycoon game, and it's gonna be incredible. And then you just don't really hear from them, like, at all. Like, they tell you, we're developing it. We're just letting you know we're developing it, and then for like a couple of years, it's just not heard of. And people are questioning Atari, like, you guys are still developing the game, right? Like, it's still happening? And they're like, they don't even really respond. It's just kind of assumed, like, yeah, we're still working on it. We're making progress. And it turns out a lot of stuff was happening with Atari in the background that they didn't know about. So the people that made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 here, Frontier, they weren't going to be making Roller Coaster Tycoon World. They're their own independent game company now. Atari couldn't get them to make the game. So they needed a new company to make it for them. So they hired a company called, like, Pipeworks? Or something like that. Something about pipes. And I guess Atari doesn't really have that good of relationships with companies that they work with, because Pipeworks got removed from the project. So, like, partway through development, vendors, I have 4, let's have another. So partway through the project, they just kick Pipeworks off. They're like, get out of here, you're done with the project. Like, mid-development. And they hire another team called, like, Area 52 or something like that? I don't know exactly what they were called. But they added another team. They're like, alright, you're the new guys that are going to be making this game for us. So they're making the game for a little while. And Atari, with their silly relationships with other companies making games for them, they start to hate this other company now, Area 52 or whatever. And they're like, get off the project! Get out of here! We don't want you developing this game anymore. So they hire their third developer, which I believe is Navisio Creations. That one I'm more certain of. So, this game right here went through 3 different developers. So, that's always a good sign right there for a game to go through 3 different developers. And it shows. It absolutely shows. And partway through Roller Coaster Tycoon World's development, this game right here was announced, Planet Coaster. That is right here, I guess. Planet Coaster was announced, and what's really funny about this is the people that are developing Planet Coaster is the company Frontier. The people that made this game right here, the people that actually made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, are the ones that made this game right here. So, during development, it was very much a battle of Planet Coaster versus Roller Coaster Tycoon World. Frontier versus Atari. The actual heart and soul of the series versus the name Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like, who will win? And there seems to actually be a very obvious winner nowadays, even just in like pre-alpha footage of Planet Coaster. People were noting how polished it was. I am so in the red with money right now. Like, it was so polished, people were like just absolutely exasperated, I don't know what the word should be, about how well development for this was going. And Atari and Roller Coaster Tycoon World, what a show that was. That is crazy, lol, it's kind of sad because those peeps so won. Like, with Atari, like, owning the name and kind of dragging it through the mud, that, yeah, it is definitely really sad if that's what you mean. And yeah, and Roller Coaster Tycoon World, the art style that they went with in that game, oh geez, it's dark now, now is not a good time to show the people in this game. They tried to make the people in that game look realistic. These peeps won, like, yeah, these guys for sure won. Frontier absolutely won. So Roller Coaster Tycoon World, they tried to make the people in the park look realistic. Well, semi-realistic. And it looks terrible. Those people look actually scary. These dudes are kind of cartoony, like from Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. And it's good. Like, games that have cartoony people, that ages really well as well. But you try to make games look realistic, and the people will not age well. Like, the graphics of the game will not age well if you're making it look realistic. But the art style of these people is awesome. It's like nice and cartoony while still enough realistic looking that, you know, they're people. I guess that's probably not the best way to word it. But yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon World was released, and leading up to the release, I would have nightmares about the other people all when they were about to throw up. In Roller Coaster Tycoon World, you mean, or in other RCT games? Or about these people or something. Not sure. But even leading up to release, RCTW is just a glitchy mess. Like, the first trailer, the first RCT yeah. Hey, look, it's my entertainer. Yeah, the little 2D people where, it doesn't show them close enough. But the little sprites for each of them, all with different colored shirts, just waddling along in the simple animation there. The animations are so good in this game. Like, there's so much polish. So much polish in this game, for sure. But yeah, RCTW was such a glitchy mess. It was so just unfinished. Like, on release, one example, the spiral slide, as is like an iconic as is like an iconic ride for games like these, you'd expect the people to ride down the slide, turning with the slide like that. But no. On release of Roller Coaster Tycoon World, people going down the slide stay in the same direction. So if they're going down the slide, they go down the slide like that, facing the same way all the way down the slide. That's just one example. There's so many other examples. Like, sometimes coasters, you'll just fall through the tracks for like no reason at all. Buildings, you try to place them next to each other. Like, let's say I was placing down a building, like right here. Or, why are these always unstaffed? Give me a second. Staff, vendors. Jeez. I need to do better keeping my staff happier, but I need funds to do that. So, my staff need to be patient with me. But let's say I was trying to build... Oh, they hop over the counter, that's cool. I've never seen that before. But let's say I was trying to place a building down right here, right in this spot. And let's say there was another building right here. Instead of letting me go there, it would like hop into this other building and actually not let me build it there because it's in another building. I'd move my cursor over a little to the right, and it'd hop over into the other building and just wouldn't let you place it right in the center. It'd be like hop, hop, like back and forth as you're just doing tiny little mouse movements in the center there. And it's like, why are you hopping into the other building? Why? It doesn't even let you build buildings in other buildings, so why is it hopping into the other building? What a bad game that is. Maybe one day I'll stream it just to make my life miserable or something. Just for fun or something, I don't know. Oh, and there was one more project that I did. They made one on the 3DS, actually. They made a game called Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D. Worst game I've ever played in my whole life. They tried to put a story in a game that should not have a story. It's on my shelf back there. I even lent it to a friend once, and they gave it back to me the next day and said, like, never speak of this to me again. You're like some kid and you have this park janitor mentor guy who's trying to teach you how to manage parks or something. It's terrible. It's a completely awful game. Okay, all my janitors are happy, that's good, but this loan needs to... Sweet! I'm almost there. And Atari brushes Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D under the carpet. And they've actually done a really good job of keeping it brushed under the carpet. I never see it mentioned anywhere. I feel like I'm like one of the few people in the world who even still remembers that game. Like, because it wasn't marketed that much, not many people knew about it on release. And they don't have it posted anywhere on their websites anymore. They're kind of ashamed of it. There's the entertainer over there in the background. So a lot of the time I feel like I'm the only one who even remembers Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D anymore, but that's a thing that happened. And it was terrible. But yeah, Frontier basically won the war of Planet Coaster versus Roller Coaster Tycoon World. But, whoops. But I do have to admit, there are a couple things that Atari has done right for Roller Coaster Tycoon. Only two things. One is bring Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 to mobile, and two is bring Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 to mobile. So basically putting games on mobile that they weren't in charge of themselves, really. Unless you count 3. I guess they were sort of in charge of that project. But yeah, they ported over the first and second games together in a game called Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, which is actually better than the original 2. It's like the original 2 put together, plus a bunch of like fixes for things. Like in the original 2, let's say I was building a queue line for a ride right next to this path here, then it would automatically stick to the path right here, but you would try to keep building it, and it wouldn't let you. It would just be an empty path. It would still be stuck right there. So you would have to delete all of the walking path, build the queue path, and then remake the path again. They fixed that, bringing it over to mobile. They fixed that. Atari got a team in London to port it over, as well as the original creator of the original 2 games, Chris Sawyer. So him and that team did that, and they did a really good job. Those are the 2 things that Atari has done well with Roller Coaster Tycoon, is getting other people to bring over the golden ages to mobile devices. And yeah, I don't really know how well the first 2 games would really hold up to like someone that doesn't get like nostalgia from them, stuff like that. But like in my opinion, they're really fun. I really enjoyed these games. I remember getting the first one from a cereal box and just playing it all the time. Ooh, actually starting to make money now. But the story doesn't end there. The story keeps going. Just recently it kept going. It was in a kind of dead zone for a while, but the story just recently continued. It gets crazier. Pause this. It gets really crazy. Just a few weeks ago, the story continued. And it gets wild. Any second now, this should open. My desktop here is pretty slow, but it has a massive graphics card in it, so play Planet Coaster on that. How, you ask? Well, do I not have a homepage set? Okay. Oh, it's just really slow. That's what's happening. Let's pause so it's on lower volume. It gets wild. This right here, Roller Coaster Tycoon Start Engine Campaign, January 23rd. So how many weeks ago was that? Like 2? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Literally just 2 weeks ago the story continues. The Roller Coaster Tycoon channel, just out of nowhere after a couple of years of like posting nothing, they post a new video all of a sudden. The Roller Coaster Tycoon Start Engine Campaign. Now first of all, let's just look at the thumbnail there. It's a picture of the original Roller Coaster Tycoon games. So already it's kind of clickbait for like people's love of the original games. Now this video right here. Oh, what a treat this is. Theater mode. First of all, just look at the like to dislike ratio. Ow, that's loud in my ear. Turn it down a little bit, I guess. But yeah, 142 likes, 3,000 dislikes. The immediate next video coming up. So, oh my god, lol, yep. That's already an indication of what's to come. So, this video right here is quite the treat.
Hi, I'm Todd. I'm with Atari. You might have heard of us.
Whoa, I just realized it's playing through my monitor as well. That's why it's echoey. No, please no off volume on the monitor. Thanks. Jeez, I was wondering why it was echoey. It sounded like it wasn't coming from just my headphones. Sorry about that.
Hi.
Okay, that's better.
Todd. I'm with Atari. You might have heard of us.
You might have heard of us. We were a big deal like back in the 80s, and we're still around and kicking somehow.
Intellectual properties, Space Duel, Gravatar, Centipede, Breakout, Pong. Atari's top 10 franchises have earned
Pause.
over $2 billion.
Our top 10 selling franchises have made over $2 billion. A dramatic pause there.
We've done this.
We know what we're doing. We've done this. We were a big deal back in the 80s when we were still an actual big deal. But we're apparently still a big deal now, according to us.
Global entity, global publisher,
global developer.
Since 1999, Roller Coaster Tycoon has been one of the PC's top-selling franchises.
1 and 2 they didn't make at all. They had no part in. And 3 was good because the company that made this did it.
Tens of millions of downloads, hundreds of thousands of users daily. We want to bring it to a new platform, the Nintendo Switch.
We're bringing it to a new platform now. Like, the first 30 seconds of the video is literally just talking about, isn't Atari such a great and wonderful company? Then the next is like, isn't RCT such a great and awesome franchise? And now we want to bring it to a new console, the Nintendo Switch. I'm gonna put this back in the dock over here. Bam. Oh heck no. Yep.
When Nintendo's done with the Switch,
this guy looks so done with his life. He's like, I'm just here for a paycheck.
Just take a full home console experience and make it portable. We're utilizing the touchscreen, every single item in the game.
I love that expression right there. I have a Switch too. Nice. Yeah, usually what I stream on this channel is actually Nintendo stuff. I usually stream either Smash Bros on my Wii U or stuff on my Switch. But I just recently got my desktop here hooked up to an internet cable that's been run through ceiling tiles over here, because I just recently got this space around here developed. You can kind of see in the background there's a lot of Nintendo stuff, posters. But yeah, I typically stream a lot of Switch stuff, if that's content you're interested in. But yeah, I love his expression right there. And looking in the background, it looks so terrible already.
The game is up-res to beautiful high resolution.
For the first time ever, this iconic game company has turned a crowd.
To follow you, I streamed Splatoon 2 a couple times. Nice. That's a game I have, but I haven't actually like done too much of it apart from beating the main story. Played Toontown. Oh, is that like something on the Switch or something like this? But anyway, here's where this gets spicy.
This iconic game company has turned to crowdfunding.
They've turned to crowdfunding.
Its development efforts. We have a baked-in fan base who are rabid about how much they love the game.
What the opportunity here is.
He's done as well.
Buy into the larger company, but it's to buy into the brand.
That sums it up right there. The opportunity here is to not buy into the larger company, but it's to buy into the brand. I think that about sums it up right there.
If you'd like to come and join us, if you'd like to invest in the project, it couldn't be any easier. This is our opportunity to do this together. You can participate in the success of this project. It's official.
Thanks for the follow. Deidriana, if I'm saying that right.
Tycoon on the Nintendo.
Correct me if I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, this whole video is just one big advertising thing to get people to fund Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch. 30 seconds of, isn't Atari great and such a successful company? We know what we're doing, we've made so much money, we're such a great company. And then 30 seconds of, isn't Roller Coaster Tycoon so awesome and great, and isn't the Switch as well? We're bringing it to the Switch, funded our thing, we know what we're doing, and it gets better. It gets spicier. On the actual funding page, things get interesting. They've almost reached 50,000. They have 92 investors. Oh, I feel bad for these 92 people. Well, that video was so freaking bad. The acting was terrible as well. Yeah, there's more. But yeah, the acting there was really bad. There's more. It gets better. On the actual funding page, first of all, they want to have investments where $250 minimum investment. The idea is you invest. If the game does well, they'll give you back your investment and a little bit more. Is the idea like it's one of those kinds of investment things? It's not just like a donate, give us money thing. First of all, it's the US investors only, which is really strange. I feel bad for these 92 poor suckers. But there are some very funny things on this page. So invest any amount into the campaign with $250 as a minimum and earn your pro rata share of 50% of profits until you made 120% of your original investment, after which you'll earn your pro rata share of 25% of profits until 18 months after the worldwide launch of the game. Now the thing is, I don't think that they're planning on having people making their investments back, and there's a lot of evidence on this page to show that. Now the perks. This is hilarious. All investors, so with at least $250 minimum, Atari game partners will host an investor site online, and you will have the option to have your name listed on that page. You're investing $250 into this game, and they're not even putting your name anywhere in the game. They're putting it on an investor's website that probably no one's even ever going to go check. And it gets so much better. At least $750, investor perk is outlined above, and a discount of 25% off the street price of the game at launch, valid for the purchase of 1 unit of Roller Coaster Tycoon Nintendo Switch. You invest $750 and they'll give you 25% off 1 copy of the game. You would think that when all investors are investing at least $250 that everyone would be getting a completely free copy of the game, but no. Oh my god, is this real? It is. I know it's really hard to believe. Like, this is the official Roller Coaster Tycoon channel. It seems so much like it'd be something that's fake. Like 100%. It just seems like something that no company would ever do. But it's somehow real. Invest $750 and we'll give you 25% off 1 copy of the game. And then, at least $1,500, you get both of those perks. So you get your name on an investor site, you get 25% off the game, and you get 1 free copy of the regular edition, implying that there's a better edition of the book, The Art of Atari. Now, I was just playing Planet Coaster yesterday on stream, and I actually had this same discussion with someone else, like just the Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch part, because they weren't familiar on that. So, for the first time ever, I hadn't done this before, I actually looked up what the book The Art of Atari was, actually, just yesterday. And I was blown away. Is this it on Amazon? There it is. The Art of Atari. Actually ordering like a hardcover version of it is like $40. You want to download it as an ebook? It is $10. You invest $1,500 into this game, and they will give you a book that no one cares about that costs $10 to download. Oh my goodness. That's disgusting, I know, it's crazy. And also something I looked up yesterday is, like, I wanted to know, there's a better edition, Deluxe edition. Where is it? There it is. The Art of Atari, the limited Deluxe edition. The heck is in the cart? Used to me. $100. Flipping a table. $100 for the hardcover version of the book The Art of Atari. For one, who would get this? Like, maybe someone that is like a really big classic Atari fan that used to play their games from way back when or something like that. Who would read that? I know, right? But you would think that you're investing $1,500 and they'd at least get you this like fancy hardcover book that no one cares about, instead of the thing that's like $35 or $10 to download. But donating almost $2K to get that crap. Yup. You don't... Like, no one even cares about this, I think. There's 5 stars from 154 customer reviews. What? What is this book? Jeez. Maybe a cool RCT statue or something, or your own character. Speaking of, Planet Coaster, you invest like $30 or something in this game. When they were making this game, they turned to crowdfunding because they're a small company, not like a big business like Atari, whose top 10 selling franchises have made over $2 billion. And they're turning to crowdfunding. But yeah, a small company like Frontier that was just like getting off the ground as an independent game development company, they turned to the crowd, and you invest like 30 or 50, something like that, and they actually make you a character in the game going around the park. But no, Atari doesn't do that. You invest $1,500 in the game and you don't get that. Instead, you don't even get this thing that no one cares about, the $100 hardcover one. You get the $10 to download or $35 one. This is absolutely insane. But what if I told you it gets better? Planet Coaster is my homie now. Yeah, I know, right? I like pre-ordered Roller Coaster Tycoon World before I even knew that Planet Coaster existed. Like I was really looking forward to this game being good, and I was let down so much. So it's too late for me to get a refund on this game, unfortunately. But yeah, I very quickly like converted over to being a fan of Planet Coaster. But yeah, would you believe me if I told you that this story right here, it gets better. It gets even better. Scroll down. One of these days, I should just take a day to read everything on this page because I'm sure that there's some juicy stuff here. Roller Coaster Tycoon on the Switch. Here's something that's interesting. Navizio Creations, the developer of this game, is an independent game development company based in Canada that's driven by passion. Yes. Yes. They are 100% driven by passion. They developed this wonderful thing right here. Yeah. And they are definitely a company driven by passion. They have a deep understanding of and respect for the Roller Coaster Tycoon brand, enabling them to develop an entirely new game that takes advantage of the innovating features of the Nintendo Switch. Oh, the only thing that's missing is you. Oh, here's where things get interesting. Let's look at the timeline right here. The release of the original Roller Coaster Tycoon, 1999. Then in 2002, they released it. I could have sworn that was 2001 that was released. What the heck? Is there the date? Oh, no, there isn't. Okay. I could have sworn that was 2001 that was released. Guess not. They released an expansion pack for this in 2000, and I could have sworn that was 2001. Guess it's 2002. And then, here's where they brag. This year, Atari took... Wait, I can click on this? No, it just lights up green for no reason. It's not even something I can click on. But here's where they brag. This year, Atari took control of the franchise, releasing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Like, sure, they're the publisher of it technically, but the ones that were really responsible for it being good is Frontier right here. And then they released like the expansion packs for it, which again, Frontier is responsible for that. Then there's a gap right there. Like normally there would be a gap in the timeline anyway because Roller Coaster Tycoon wasn't heard of for a very long time, like over half a decade, but still, this is more of a gap than it needs to be. So there's Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Platinum, and like when the series was actually doing really well. And then, what is missing from the timeline? Oh, I don't know, maybe Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D? Where's that in the timeline? Roller Tycoon, whoops, Coaster Tycoon 3D. I'm sorry, Atari, but where's this in the timeline? Like, where is that to be seen? When did this game even come out? I don't remember. I remember I got it pretty soon after release. Where's this thing? Atari. This terrible game. Oh, man. Where's that? Whoops, that's the wrong thing. That's not in the timeline, for one. 2, Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 Mobile. That's not in the timeline as well. That's nowhere to be seen. What's also not in the timeline, this really big project that they were hyping up for so long, that's nowhere to be seen. Yep, a timeline of everything Roller Coaster Tycoon. And this thing right here, it's nowhere to be seen. It's not even in their own timeline. It's like it doesn't even exist to them. And then there's like a new mobile app that they released sometime last year that I didn't really look into that much, but apparently it did decently well. So they threw that in the timeline because it was the best thing that they themselves did for the series. I'm actually genuinely surprised that they didn't put in Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, like the first and second games that were put onto mobile devices, or Rct 3 on mobile devices. I'm surprised that those weren't there, because those are actually really good, mostly because it's just these games but on mobile devices. And then crowdfunding begins, and then they're saying, like, there's going to be new and greater heights, stuff like that. And then here comes the best part. Right here. This is the best part. Irregular use of proceeds. We might incur irregular use of proceeds that may include, but are not limited to, the following over $10,000. Vendor payments and salary made to oneself, a friend or relative, any expense labeled administration expenses that is not strictly for administrative purposes, any expense labeled travel and entertainment. Really, any expense that is for the purposes of intercompany debt or back payments. So it literally says in the fine print of this investor page that we might do this, by the way, just thought you should know. We might just give the money that you're using to invest into this new Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch. We might not even use it for that project at all. We might just give some of it to a friend or relative. We might pay ourselves with it. We might literally go traveling with it. Travel and entertainment. Or we might pay off our company debt. This is madness. Yep, it sure is. And when I was telling this story to someone that stopped in just yesterday, there was this that I noticed. They posted this just 4 days ago. And first of all, yesterday I noticed that there's conflicting information. These were posted on the exact same day, and there's conflicting information. Right here. What are the key features of Roller Coaster Tycoon Switch? Over 100 wacky rides, restaurants, and shops, yada yada yada. And then posted on the exact same day. Over 120 wacky rides, restaurants, and shops. The rest of this is almost like it was copy-pasted, but this number is different. And also with tropical locales, when it just says tropics or something down here. Yeah, in tropics. So that's different. Also, they don't even capitalize the L in locales. I thought that was like yokels or something. I literally had to look up this word and have Google read it to me to have me realize that it was locales because I'm dumb. But yeah, Atari for Roller Coaster Tycoon on the Switch literally posts something in the exact same day and has different information. The more frequently asked questions and answers is pretty interesting as well. Like, one question right here. Why is Atari funding Roller Coaster Tycoon Switch on Start Engine? Atari has more than 200 gaming brands, including titles like Pong, Centipede, and Missile Command. All things that were like big in the 80s, but no one cares about anymore. And our goal is to find alternate sources of capital to grow our business. We have over 200 intellectual properties, and our top 10 selling franchises have made over $2 billion. And our goal is to find alternate sources of capital to grow our business. From a financial diversification perspective, it makes sense for Atari to try and test some new sources of funding. Yep, that sure sounds like testing new sources of funding. The way that I see this is they do not at all intend Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch to do well. They realize that they are not good at being in charge of Roller Coaster Tycoon games, but they don't want to admit it. They want to pretend that they still are, because they want to wring out as much cash as they can from people's love for this series. Just like exploit it as much as they can. So they're literally just using this as a tool. This irregular use of proceeds, I'd say, literally proves it. Saying like, hey, we might use your funds to literally pay off our company debt, do travel and entertainment, give it to friends and relatives. We're basically going to do whatever we want with your money. What are the key features? And not that. Yes, right here. Why is a mention of irregular use of proceeds in the documentation so dumb, man? Yeah, I know, right? The irregular use of proceeds is standard language provided in most Start Engine campaigns, which provides more disclosures than required to ensure that if any irregular use of proceeds do occur, we have not failed to omit any potential material information. Definition of what can be regarded as irregular use of proceeds is listed below. And then they just like copy paste this stuff before. And then this, I love this line right here. We will do everything in our power to avoid any irregular use of proceeds. Like, we really, really don't want to do it. Like, we just had to list it because that's like a regular Start Engine investing thing. We will do everything in our power to avoid any irregular use of proceeds. We will do absolutely everything that we can to make sure that we don't go traveling and go on vacations and entertain ourselves with your money. We'll do everything that we can to make sure that we don't give your money to a friend or relative. We will do everything in our power to avoid using your money to pay off our company debt that in a previous thing I saw said that they had apparently paid off their debt, but it says here that they might do that. Lol. Yep. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that we don't go traveling with your money. And then there's more of this stuff. Frequently asked questions, yada yada. And then a whole bunch of comments from people. That's basically a lot of toxic stuff, hating Atari. And there's a lot of them that are like this, where people hate on Atari and what they're doing, and then their accounts get terminated. Like, after an honest response, you decide to not only ignore my pleas for a decent game, but you also delete my post for some reason, and it says account no longer active. And there's a lot of, it doesn't want to do that right now, but there's a lot of comments down there that say like account no longer active, like their accounts have just been deleted. I'd say that's about the whole story of Roller Coaster Tycoon right there. I just went through like the whole history of the series right there. Oh, geez, I sure know a lot about that series.